Welcome back this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending upon where you are or what time you are happening to watch this.
Welcome out.
Welcome to the community, the podcast devoted to home service businesses and those who desire to make an impact while making an income. Where every week you're going to hear real stories of people who decided to do it their way and start a business. And this week is going to be sick, y'all.
Hey, why would somebody want to open their own business to begin with?
I mean, because they're crazy in the head.
Yeah, and my
Or
thoughts,
they're dreamers.
yeah, or why not run your own business? Like, have you ever worked for somebody else?
Yeah, one time. That's not true. When I was a kid, I mean, I worked at Kroger, Chick-fil-A, but in adult life, I worked at a barge yard in Ashland City. That stunk on ice.
Yeah. You told me that you worked a job one time where you had to go like crawl in things and go real high. And what was the job was that?
No, you're talking about when I repoed cable boxes.
Yeah.
So that was kind of partially for myself, but also for somebody else. It was Comcast boxes. When people didn't pay their bills, I had to go in there and repo their box. And I'm pretty sure I stepped over a dead lady one time. I'm not putting on for this show right now. I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Anywho, really dangerous job. Only did that for about 6 weeks, but I did make a lot of money.
Yeah, speaking of dead ladies. Have you seen Nacho Libre before?
Nacho?
Yeah. And their lives a dead lady, or something like that. So anyway.
I know what you're talking about.
But today we've got an excellent guest on our show. He's actually a personal friend of ours. We spend more time with him than about business. But his story from his childhood to growing up, he's got crazy stories that we'll never get to hear unless we really put him on the spot today.
I really hope we get there. I mean, surely he's repoed some cable boxes.
And so you'll want to listen all the way through to find out if we end up sharing the stories that are probably not supposed to be ever shared out loud.
Oh, but also at the end, he's going to share some stuff about something new he's got coming out.
Oh my
as
goodness.
it relates to landscape. And it's like an absolute no-brainer. You'd be a dumb head to not look into it.
Yeah, in fact, I think we're going to join the services.
Yeah.
And so whenever we have someone that's a guest here, if they share something that we are like, this is bananas, we're likely to sign up for it too.
Usually punching it down in our notes along with you.
And so you're going to hear that today. But our guest today is inside of San Antonio, Texas. He's grown a successful window cleaning company and then has blown up the Christmas light outdoor lighting space. And he's going to be sharing maybe a little bit about how you too can blow up Christmas lights and why you might want to think about doing that today. And so without any more, what word should we use there?
Without further, is it further to do or further ado?
I think,
Scott, do you know? Don't know. Without any more talking to have happen, Shane Duffy.
Come on.
How was that?
What's up? Further ado, do.
Hey,
I'm pretty sure it's a do, not to do. That doesn't make sense.
Further ado.
Hey, have you ever done a job where you ended up running into someone that was unfortunately not alive?
No, I can't top that from Brady. How do you not know you stepped over a dead person?
Yeah.
I don't think she knew it either. It was she was done or it was close and happening.
I've been held at gunpoint. Does that count?
All right. Well, then, yeah, I think you win.
Now, what kind of gun was it?
Well, I've been held at gunpoint actually several times. One time was an Uzi, one time was a 380, and one time was probably just a 9.
Heck it up. You've been held at gunpoint with an Uzi? And if anyone has ever even played Call of Duty, they're like, this guy is lying.
We have a living Call of Duty expert on the show. So what do you do when you have a guy with an Uzi in front of you?
You pretty much just do what he says.
You doozy what he says. I get it.
All right.
Oh, man.
So we might get into that story in the
love
future.
to.
But before we do that, why should anyone listen to anything that you have to say?
Is this where like I give like a further introduction of myself?
Who is Shane Duffy? I mean, after that.
Yeah, give me your
You guys
highlight show.
should not to me if I say anything different than Joshua says. But I mean, for us, we've built a successful business, a 7-figure business. We started off as just a window cleaning company. We added power washing, soft washing, gutter cleaning, and kind of do everything exterior cleaning services. We got in the Christmas light game. Maybe I think 2018 was our first year. And then that really exploded. I got a lot of energy out of that. Now we do a lot of Christmas light revenue. We branched our brand and we made our Glass Geeks, which is exterior detailing, and then Glo Geeks, which is Christmas lights, landscape lighting, and permanent roofline lighting. We've been an entrepreneur since 20s. We've invested a lot in real estate. We invest a lot in crypto. We've got several passive streams of income coming in. So we've learned a thing or two in the 40 years I've been around.
Yeah, I would say right now you've made more money in crypto than probably any other thing that you've purchased.
Is that true?
So I don't tell very many people this. Now it's okay to say. 2 years ago, maybe not. But I mean, I refinanced my house to invest into crypto. This was before interest rates were going to rise. So this was like 2021 or something like I knew interest rates were going up. So I pulled out as much equity as I could and put it into the market over the course of the next 12 months, layering in. And yeah, that turned out to be a pretty good move thus far.
Today, grief, Shane, that's awesome.
Today, how good of a move has it been?
So we did invest a lot in 2021 previous to this refinance. So we were pretty heavily under, but now we're 6 figures in the green.
Good grief, dude. That is wild.
And would you put 6 figures in profitability? That is on top of what you have inside of it personally.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
Okay, man, that's crazy. I feel like when I hear someone start a conversation with, I mean, I've been held at gunpoint by an Uzi and then later mentioned several passive streams of income. I'd like to bridge the gap and figure out, like, what are all those passive streams of income and what are kind of the main things. By the way, love the name of the business. Glass Geeks and Glo Geeks. Man, that rolls right off the tongue. I love it.
Thank you. Glo Geeks, our tagline is outdoor light aficionados.
Yeah, you should franchise.
I like the word aficionado. Sounds fancy.
Hey, we're going to get into services here in a second, but before we do that, I want to jump into sales for a second. And let me just ask you, just point blank, do you think you could do it all over again without any of the contacts you have today, but you know everything you know today in a different city, in a different state?
100%. Yeah. I think once you've already done it, you've done it a couple of times, doing it again is the easiest thing. What they say, like 0 to 1 million is the hardest. Doing it the first time. 1 million to 10 million is not as hard as 0 to 1. Have you heard that? Or am I just throwing that out?
I think I've heard that, but I've also heard 2 to 3 is the largest gap. Like the hardest part.
And I've heard 33% of stats are made up on the spot.
33% of statistics are fake.
And so what I hear you saying is you do have great confidence that you could go into a different city in the right market without any contacts, and you could start it from scratch and build a multi-million-dollar business?
I have zero doubt.
Wow.
Good
Man,
grief.
You've got more confidence than me because I feel like I didn't do it by myself. I feel like there were so many different characters and individuals that come along that I'm like, how do I know that they'll come along again? You know, that's just what's in my head is like, do I meet?
At some point, am I wrong assuming that it's just got to become systems and not people?
I think it's people. I mean, everything
it's
people.
both.
Relationships.
There's a fine dance between that. Certainly people, you can have the greatest systems in the world and have C, B players that aren't going to take you to the level that you want. So I mean, you definitely need A players. But I think having systems and having a strong leadership attracts those A players as well.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt for a second because we've got a phenomenal opportunity for you. If you've been thinking about opening your own pressure washing company, I'd like to invite you to a free webinar. There we'll talk about the pros and cons of opening a pressure washing, and you'll get to chat with our team about whether or not you should launch a pressure washing company in your city or not. To register for this free event, go to pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down to the little registration button, it's blue, and click on it, and we'll take care of the rest. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day. Now back to our show. All right, so let me ask you a question in regards to sales. When you look back over the course, how long has your company been in business, Glo Geeks?
Glo Geeks, we started officially with the name Glo Geeks in 2020. Glass Geeks was started in 2016.
Well, let's go with 2016. Can you look back on the time and say this was a big break? There was an event that took place. There was somebody that you met, but it opened up the door for your company to scale like it had not before this opportunity.
So I can name a couple pivotal moments. I mean, we started like in my family Suburban, tying a ladder to the luggage rack. And then we got our first really big power wash job. It's this a place called the Long Center in Austin. It's like a theater building. And a buddy of mine that knew a buddy was the maintenance engineer, and we got a power wash gig there, and we cleaned the windows. This was our first time renting a scissor lift. I didn't actually own a power washer, so we went to like Northern Tool because I didn't know any better, and bought whatever $7,000-8,000, maybe it was $14,000. It was an expensive power wash rig, and we went and knocked it out. And that kind of like leveled us up. You know, now we've got pictures of this job. We did this power washer, and we own this power washer, and that was very early on in our business. 2018, when we got introduced to We Hang Christmas Lights and learned the Christmas light game, that was big. In the second year we were in Christmas, this was 2019, we got a lead to do the downtown municipality of San Antonio. And we're quoting it like we'd only done 80 grand in Christmas lights our first year. And here I am quoting a 6-figure project the next year. So we were totally out of our realm. There's no way anyone would look at us and be like, yeah, let's hire this company. But we got it through sheer grit, determination. God. So we ended up having that job. It was 50 grand the first year, but it was like 100 grand the second year. And it was very profitable. So that really leveled up our game as well.
Shane, did that call come in organically, or did that happen through a unique scenario?
So at this point, Glo Geeks didn't even exist. So the lead wasn't coming through Glass Geeks. It actually came through We Hang Christmas Lights as the local affiliate. And honestly, if I wasn't affiliated with them, because I used them as, hey, we're We Hang Christmas Lights, we do national projects. We've done this, this, and this, which wasn't me, but I was using the success of We Hang Christmas Lights as a whole. That's the only reason I think we got it, because otherwise we were way too small to even be allowed to quote.
Dude, holy cow, man. That is a big boy jump.
Yeah, and there's a story behind the story, and it's because we've chatted about this in the past. You went to a conference that opened up your mind to possibilities that you didn't know existed prior to the conference, which shows the power of networking, paying for extra events. Can you share the story of you going to a conference, something that you saw there, and maybe the kicker that ended up getting you this 50, 100, how much ever money over time that this job will end up bringing in?
So that's funny you mentioned that. I don't even remember telling you that. That was a long time ago. Good memory. So we did in 2019, in March 2019, we went to the Trans World Show, which is a big Halloween Christmas show that they put on once a year. And we went to a bunch of classes. We saw stuff, took a bunch of pictures, video of the vendors. And there was one product there. It's called Aurora, I believe, Limbic Media. And we went to their little classroom, and they had a system that was what I called it the singing tree. I don't even know if they call it that. But basically, you can wrap a tree in bulbs and sing to it, and the tree will blink kind of to the music or the karaoke that you set up. So I pitched that to downtown. They wanted to do something different. had I not gone to that show, there's no way I would have even known I could do it. Hell, I had no idea how to install it. This was way out of my league anyways. I just sold it. But doing that, something different, and having the experience from going to that show and meeting Limbic Media really helped close that deal. I don't think I would have gotten it if I didn't go to that show, now that you say that.
Yeah. So do you understand what's going on, Brady?
Yeah, fully.
He got a tree that you could sing to, and it would sing and blink back to you.
I can imagine Shane out there like trying to test it, showing these people in there what it does. I mean, that is incredible, man. So you would say that just by spending money, that one, it's almost hard to see a return, because that type of money investment from a company standpoint is hard to quantify the return. But dude, you quantified it right there.
It's impossible to know. Yeah. And it's impossible to know what show I might have picked that up from.
Right.
So I guess the take out of that is just continue to learn, invest 10% into yourself, going to shows or mentorships, every year, and it'll lead to something. It might take 5 shows before you get that.
Sure.
But it's big when you hear.
So chances are, if you're listening to the show, you've got a little bit of confidence, or you're looking for confidence. One thing that you do when you have confidence is you tend to lean on your confidence because you don't know what you don't know. Once you learn that you don't know a lot of things, you then open yourself up to experiencing things that you never would have experienced before, which can lead to bigger and greater things. Which is why, if you're listening, it is critically important that you surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know. And so don't be the smartest person in the room. Find networks, find coaches, find people that are going to take you on experiences, introduce you to people and networks and conferences that you've never even heard about, because then it can open up doors where you can make, family decisions, fitness decisions, faith decisions, and mission as business decisions inside of this life. So I think that's just powerful of a story. Because when you shared that with me, I was like, wow, like I want to know about the singing Christmas tree, so we can end up throwing that into only a big client would be interested in something like that.
So you're right. Once you do that, we're doing another RFP. It's due Thursday here in 48 hours. I am working on it right now. Been up super early. It's going to be $400,000 a year for a 3-year contract. So it's over $1 million. And again, it's out of our league. I'm not big enough to be quoting on $400,000 jobs. I'm just incredibly confident to do it. But pricing it is and doing it is still going to be a stretch.
That's the difference maker right there. You say that you're not, but the difference between people who are and are not are the ones who submit the bid, and they have the confidence that, if I win this, I actually have to do this thing. So when you put that, I mean, I have jobs like that where I still go out and bid, and I'm like, okay, I don't really actually know about this one, but I remember Josiah telling me a long time ago, and it could have just been total ignorance, but he said, you sell it, I'll clean it. And so it's like, I don't have to worry about the back end, right? I'm going to sell this thing. And so the difference between what you just said is I actually disagree. I totally think you're the person who should bid on a $500,000 job, because a lot of guys will go, this is too big for me. I don't want to bid on it anyways. And so you absolutely are.
Okay. And so I'm starting up a window cleaning company. Let's go to that. And I'm trying to understand how to price where I'm also profitable. Do you have any type of advice for those that are trying to understand how to price their window cleaning jobs?
But I can tell you what we charge, but that's changed since day one, right? Because now we have salesmen, we have branded vehicles, we have an office manager. So our overhead is way different than it was year one or year two. So I think you got to know your numbers. That's kind of the benefit of being small, is you can be cheaper and still be more profitable. So I don't know if that really answers your question or where you're going, but you have to know your labor cost and your COGS to be able to really come up with a price that you're fair with. When doing a new service, I'll say this, you never know, right? When you're doing a new service, it's just theory or advice that you got from someone. You really have no clue until you do it a dozen times, because the first time you're going to lose because you're slow. You don't know what you're doing, right? You do it a dozen times. Now you can be a little speedier and you can really get a feel of labor, material, profit.
Yeah, you nailed that.
Yeah, that's good. I was hoping you'd say, hey, $5 for a square foot or something, simple where guys who are
Well,
looking to start.
to throw a price out. So if you're breaking a window down by the window pane, we charge $4.50 per pane to clean inside and out. So a normal double hung window would be $9. And we add 50% if it's second story.
Oh, wow. That's super interesting. Yeah. And I think that you're kind of nailing the question anyways. The way that I perceive that too is when you're smaller, it's kind of harder to know because even when you lose, you still probably win if you're doing it yourself. It's just like what kind of margins do actually look like a win at the year 1, year 2 stage for me is how do you know you're in the progression of scaling?
Agreed. My guys, at least my experienced guys, can all clean at $100+ an hour rate on windows while on site. New guy can't do that, but you got to teach them and give them a couple thousand windows.
Yeah, and then you find out if they're going to stick around or not.
Yeah.
Right when they're good,
they start doing $100 an hour and take it out on their own.
Hey, when it comes to customer retention, being able to maintain a long-lasting relationship is essential in scaling a window cleaning or any company for that matter. Do you have any tips or tricks that you teach in regards to maintaining or retaining a customer?
So these are all good questions. I wish you asked me this before, so it wasn't so top of the dome. But my first answer would be having core values spelt out so you could always go back to the core values if someone does something wrong. So like our core values, we made it in the acronym GEEKS. So go getter, everything's always figure outable. E, educated, we're always learning our craft. E, enthusiastic. It's really important to have a positive attitude for me, because a negative attitude ruins everything. K is for clean with a K. Always being fastidious in both our appearance, our work trucks, and on site. And then S, steadfast, people over profits. So all that was to get to the S. So for us, we will lose money. We will quote something and realize we way lowballed it, but we will still do it, and we'll eat that frog to keep our core values in line. People over profits, always being steadfast.
When I first started my own pressure washing business, I did not know what soft washing was, nor did I know marketing, sales, or even how to manage my finances.
Take the guesswork out of it. We have taken all of the knowledge we've gotten and wrapped it into video courses. It's a 7-figure blueprint for a pressure washing company that you can get at pressurewashingpastor.com. Go there, scroll down to video courses, and purchase it. We guarantee you'll get the value or your money back.
So go ahead and click pause, head over to the website. Now, unclick pause and back to your show. It sounds like you have, off the dome, have done a very good job. Hey, so did you start with core values in 2016?
No. I take that back. I suppose they've changed kind of over the years. I didn't have it really cool in the geek letters, but we did within our first 12 months come up with core values that were similar defined. I just changed it around to fit in geek so it's easy to remember and creative.
Now, sales is something that I feel like you excel in. Also, I love that you tied that into the acronym. That's just a beautiful thing that can happen. So I love that. But I feel like sales is something that you definitely enjoy talking about and you definitely excel in. Are there any tips you can give to year 1, year 2 guys that are something that, hey, if I knew this then, it would have really helped either just our sales in general or even my confidence level that you've carried through the business and learned over time?
Sometimes I think there's people that are natural in communicating with people, being able to break the ice, being disarming. That is one of my superpowers. Like, I know that. I've got a lot of non-superpowers, but talking to people is one of mine. If you don't have that, the advice would be to put someone else on your team that does have that immediately.
I love that. I like using the word disarming too. I just wrote that down. That's a great way to describe breaking the trust,
How how many sales guys have you had over the years? And just take a ballpark guess.
4.
That's not
Maybe
a ton.
5.
Okay, let's go with 5. Okay. Was there any point where you realized that this was a bad hire?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I know one guy. If I really think there's more than 5, they just didn't last long enough to stay in my memory. But I did have one guy.
Share that.
we hired him in customers. He came off as pushy. He was someone that had a lot of sales experience. I think he quoted things too high. It's funny to say, right? But like he was, I think he was just pushy, and it didn't go with our vibe as a company. We're not hard sellers. I'm not pushy at all. It's not my personality. So he didn't match well. He didn't last for more than a couple months. But on the opposite side, I had a guy on the disc scale that was high I. Everyone loved him. He could immediately break the ice. Funnest guy to be around. But he would spend the entire quote talking. He wouldn't quote on site and give him a number. I'll get that on over to you. Sometimes it took a couple days. And then his follow-ups were like non-existent.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
problem.
you got to follow up. So you can have both guys on those scales and they still not be good.
Yeah.
So can you give a piece of advice on the individual that you're quick to hire for a sales position?
I do have a piece of advice. I don't always follow it, but you should, right? Is to get a disc or some kind of personality test on them. I've put someone in a sales position, and if you don't know the disc, look it up. But someone that was a high S and a high C, very, very good at everything, super detailed in the quotes. But sometimes you really just need a high I and a high D to really be able to sell, build value, and follow up and have the confidence to close on site. So you kind of need to know their personality if you're really looking for a perfect fit.
Yeah,
And so you're what are the actual letters that you would go with based off of that? Is it a high S or high C?
So high S or high C would be more of someone on the truck. S is, really loyal, kind of follows the rules, doesn't go outside of the lines. A high C is like really detailed. Think of like an engineer, someone who dots all their I's, crosses all their T's, wants to know all the information before putting together a quote. And then a high I, that would be like your party guy, the life of the party, someone that's always laughing and talking. If you get 2 I's in a room, nothing gets done. They just chit chat all day. And then a D, that's more what you find pretty common in your CEO or your business owner. They drive things, they get things done. My buddy James says, that's like someone who jumps out of an airplane and builds the parachute on the way down. Like the definition of an entrepreneur. Sell it, and we'll figure out how to do it later. So out of those, a salesman, you want a good mix of I in there. And an I should be somewhere around the highest. I mean, you do need some D and some C, but you have to have someone that can naturally talk to people and build value and break the ice.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
So you are a phenomenal salesman. You are selling big tickets, big jobs, $1 million sales.
Contracts, yeah, that's
dude.
bad stuff.
So with that being said, you're a fantastic salesman. What is your sales script that you give to most of your clients?
So, and I will retain like the whales, that I call them. Any big ticket, any big commercial job, I'll just put myself in that seat. I don't think anyone can do that better than myself, at least at the moment, or probably ever, right? Because you're the business owner. But I was going somewhere. Tell me the question again.
So you're one of the best.
Script.
Hey, let me ask it again because we're going to turn it viral, okay? And so we're going to ask a question. We're going to be silent, and you are going to give off the best advice in creating the sales script. So, Shane, you're one of the best salesmen I've ever met. What is a sales script that you would give to anybody trying to learn how to sell?
Got it. So really good question. For me, everything's just like top of the dome. I just go with it. No one can duplicate that. So I have to make a system for it and make the system better than the individual as much as possible. So we try to take the guesswork out, and we use our CRM, which is either ResponseBid or Jobber that we're doing quotes through. All the prices are already pre-input in, so they just got to measure, enter the prices in, enter the window count in, enter the linear feet in, whatever it is. So the price guess is taken out of there, and they can quote and present on site quickly. So have that, and then having the presentation part as well. So we overly present so that way we build more value naturally without the person having to say it. So we've got booklets that kind of talk about like the soft washing process, the Gliocasco magma, what it is, and how you kill it on a roof, and how we do different roofs, and picture of our truck and our core values and our team. And so it's like this little 13-page little tiny booklet we get printed. So that does a lot of the talking, and it's super impressive as a leave behind. The quote, the way it's detailed out. And when we're talking about our cleaning services, I've got videos tied into every single quote that we do with ResponseBid. So we're quoting a driveway, but there's a hyperlapse version of us using a service cleaner cleaning a driveway. And we bullet point out what we do. Same with gutters and windows. So the quote presentation is amazing and top notch. So really when we're going, the quote in the system kind of does everything. We just teach our guys, you got to break the ice. You got to talk around. You got to act like a doctor of the home, and you're just walking around and prescribing things that you think the home could use. You got some algae up here. Like, I'd recommend washing that. If you'd like, I can quote that while I'm here. And then go inside, go outside, count everything up, take 15 minutes, put your quote together, knock back on the door. Hey, let me leave you with this. Give them the flyers, go over the quote, email it to them. And hopefully you can close it on the spot. We don't really push that probably as much as we should. We try to close every job on the spot, but sometimes they're busy. They're on a conference call by the time you leave. The husband's not there, the wife's not there, whatever the case may be. But we send them all that, and then we have a good follow-up system to follow up with every quote at least 5 times after we leave.
So you don't just go on a Facebook thread, take some photos, and say, hey, does anybody know how to price this job right here?
We don't.
Did you?
I was thinking that in my head. Maybe I did at one point. I'm not sure. I can say I always did have someone I can call on that I knew in the industry, because I like to network a lot and make friends, that I could call and ask that question to.
Yeah. And so if you're trying to grow and scale, start a business, it's important not to go on to Facebook but to have some friends, some coaches, and some networks.
Community.
You have some community. And that's one of the things that I would encourage you is to put boundaries around your community. If you're giving permission for anyone to speak into what you do and how to sell and how to market and how to grow a business, chances are you're going to get 1,000 different directions and get nothing accomplished. And so pick out 1 or 2 mentors, build a network, get some coaches. You're going to go further, faster together than by yourself. And
and putting barriers around it, that doesn't necessarily mean that all the advice is wrong. It's just loud because it's different. And so you can dial in some people that are direct to you, right, that would help align straight with you and just operate inside of a few people. That way it's not so loud.
Yeah, and then there's people that will actually give you false advice.
That's definitely true.
For sure. And so you don't know who to trust and who not to trust when you open up the door to anybody to speak into your life. Hey, we want to transition into the new business that you've opened up. First, can you share with us why you decided to open up an outdoor lighting Christmas light business?
So it started with Christmas lights. And, once we start doing $500,000 a year during Christmas season and then some, there's a lot of profit in that done correctly. And when you hire on these seasonal guys, you find some guys that you really want to keep on the team. But come January, you're done with takedowns. I don't have enough room on them on the cleaning side of the business. So we wanted to start year-round lighting. So we started looking into permanent roofline lights. with a couple of companies and products that we like. So we do permanent roof line lights. And then we started doing landscape lights. That probably started with someone asking us, hey, can you do landscape lights? Me saying, of course, we're the best at it. And then we go and research and figure out where to go from there. What really changed and made me kind of flip where I am more of a Glo geek than a glass geek now. Going with lighting is kind of more of my passion and what like really gives me energy. So I met my landscape light mentor. His name's Nate Mullen. He wrote the book on lighting. Nate was doing all the billionaires in San Diego. He's got stories of doing the Kroc family and the descendants of Henry Ford family and multi-billionaires. And he started inventing his own products. So electrical engineer by trade. And then he started selling those. And then he got out of the install business and went to the manufacturing business. Built a little company that everyone in the landscape light business knows called Unique Lighting. Unique, this is everywhere. He invented the multi-tap transformer that everyone uses today. So Nate knows everything there is to know about lighting over the last 4 decades. And he sold Unique to Toro, billion-dollar company. You know, they do the lawnmowers, irrigation, Toro. And they bought it. And then he decided, like, he just hated inventing and being on consultant for Toro. So his non-compete ran out and he started Lifetime Lighting Systems. Nate cold called me. Funny thing. And I don't even know why I answered it or called him back. There's just something out of it. He was in San Antonio for a show. And he just happened to be in. And Nate doesn't even do this. So it's just so random how all the pieces fit together. But he Googled like Christmas light installer while he was in San Antonio. We popped up at the top of the list and he calls me and I answer. It's like, hey, you want to learn landscape lighting? Like, I'm going to be here. If you want to come, I'm downtown. Come hang out. I was like, okay, this is weird. I'm going to do it. And I met him and I loved everything that he had to say. So he taught me and really went from zero to hero on design. And there's so much that goes into landscape designing, making masterful pieces of art with light. I feel there's no one in San Antonio better than me. Nationwide, arguably that's Nate. But I feel very, very confident that we are the best and we can install some super trick stuff. We can put lights where most people would get scared away because it's hard to put lights there, hiding wire and everything. So we started, after I've been with Nate for a couple of years, teamed up with Nate and another installer that's one of Nate's guys. His name's Captain Matt. And Nate, me, Captain Matt, we started the lightingtradeschool.com, not the. And this is just all recent. So we are teaching folks, because there's kind of a void in the market. There's a lot of people that got into Christmas lights that want to learn landscape lights. And it's not a really good system out there that teaches install and design. There's some really good programs that teach the business side of it, but not the how do you run wire across a driveway over a sidewalk and where should I put this light on this home? There's not a lot of that. So that's what we started. Lighting Trade School, the first challenge we started this with starts April 15th. It's $250. It's like ridiculously cheap. It's a 6-week long program. Every week you have homework, which basically revolves around doing a demo, putting temporary lights up on a home, and then talking about it on a weekly basis with either me, myself, or Nate about design and what you should do and how you should do it. Once you start getting into installs, we go over with you how you're going to do it. We've got training videos, set up a training video library. This is exactly how you do it. So for 6 weeks, you get our attention for $250.
Wow.
I'll admit the reason it's $250 because we're going to lose money. You can't catch an hour of my time for $250, much less 6 weeks. The reason we're doing it is because we need to take some folks from 0 to $1 million and showcase them. Hey, we helped them do that. That's our tagline: one truck, one crew, $1 million.
Can you really do $1 million with one truck and one crew?
We wouldn't say it if we couldn't.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness.
So that's, I mean, if you think about it, Josh, right? That's, what is the math on that? It's 10,000 a week for, no, I'm sorry, 20,000 a week for 50 weeks, right? That's $1 million. So you break that down into a day, well, that's only $4,000 a day. Well, I mean, that's depending on what you charge per fixture. There's only 10, 20 fixtures a day, and one crew can easily install 15 to 20 fixtures in a day.
Easy.
So as long as you keep them busy, you can 100% do that with a 2-man crew. Maybe on occasion you hire someone to help trench or a day labor type situation on your bigger jobs, but a 2-man crew can do a gross $1 million in a year and be highly profitable. Keep it small, keep it all.
If you didn't know by now, we have created the #1 video courses on starting and scaling a pressure washing company on the market.
That's right. But head knowledge will only take you so far. You need the hands-on experience.
So what we crafted for you guys is an Experience Nashville 3-day boot camp. 2 days in the field, learning everything as it relates to pressure and soft washing and how the systems work, and 1 full day of breakout sessions with Joshua and myself. Visit pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down till you see a link to my calendar. We will grab a call together and figure out how to get you here to Nashville.
And then we will see you in Nashville.
Back to the show.
All right, I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to dive in a little bit because I want to drink the juice, but I'm looking at the juice and I want to know if it's safe to drink or not. And so here's a question. How long would it take to do $1 million in 1 year when it comes to boots on the ground, branding, marketing, and then we're going to go into startup capital to get there?
Right. So it's going to be a little different for everyone. Someone that has an existing business and has a, 5,000 plus client, list that you can tap into. Hey, Miss Jones, we're starting this program. We're in a contest. Can I come put some demo lights up in your home? You got a super awesome entry with your stairs or your columns. I want to light that up, take some pictures and use it. I'll send you the pictures. If you want a quote, I'll give you one, but I really want to light it up. Super soft. Like what good customer wouldn't say no to that, wouldn't say yes to that. So if you have that, you can start off going to all your high-end clients and just easily getting your foot in the door, and you're learning and training yourself at the same time because you're putting up lights and seeing how it interacts with different textures and surfaces. So if you have that, well, that catapults you at the end of 12 months. You can easily be doing 80,000+ and be at that $1 million mark for the subsequent 12 months.
So how much? So that doesn't cost you any marketing at all, and so if I put, are people searching this, or is this majority of the individuals you're cold selling?
So surely there's, starting off, because we had a big network, that's where we started off with our Christmas light customers. You're going to spend a couple grand in Christmas lights. Like, it's not a big stretch to spend $4 to $10 grand on some landscape lights that are permanent, much less, your bigger customers that spend 5 times that. Right. So that was easy for us, low hanging fruit for marketing. Surely you want to do ad spend and start doing flyers. You do your 10 rounds. We use SendJim, take a picture of the project we just completed and mail it out within a 3-mile radius. You want to post it on all your socials. But a lot of that still is and can be boots on the ground, very low cost as you're getting yourself established. If you were not established, well, yeah, it's going to take a little longer, a little more boots on the ground.
And let's just play a game and say, how profitable is that? Let's say you're not spending a lot of money on PPC, on pay-per-click, but you're using your relationships and networking. If everything's done right, meaning you're not doing a lot of damage, you're not getting sued by anything that you've done, you've not set any fish on fire, what would the profitability of a $1,000 job or a $4,000 job look like?
Sure. So we'll start with your team, right? You've got 2 lead guys, maybe you got a sales guy, an office gal, and then either yourself or you can call it a general manager. So you got a team of 4 or 5 folks to do $1 million. Maybe even throw in a extra man for a trencher or something. 5, 6 people max. With the cleaning industry, right? You need hundreds of thousands of equipment and several trucks and 7, 8 guys in the field just to get to 7 figures. Don't need that with lights. So the first thing is your overhead's going to be way lower. I mean, you can keep everything either in your van or your pull behind trailer. You don't even really need a shop. Maybe you just have a little storage unit type office combo, really, really small. Your office manager, I mean, you're only servicing 100 customers a year, maybe 200 max if you do a bunch of small jobs. So your call volume, your call back volume, your customer retention, I mean, super small. One office manager can easily do it. She would be bored most of the time. And then your leads, it's not like you're doing 70 quotes in a week. The leads come in and they're much less. So back to profitability, let's just say you did $1 million, 50% max would be your material cost. I mean, that's like you're really lowballing some stuff. 50% all in, crimps, replaceable tools, grease tubes, and then of course all your light fixtures, all the little stuff at a maximum 50%. And again, that's if you're the cheap guy. Should be closer to 40%. So 50%. So now you got $500,000. Labor, I don't know if each of your 4 or 5 guys made 50 grand a year. Maybe you're at $250,000 in labor. And then now you got $250,000 left to maybe pay for your tiny storage unit office, maybe a little bit of marketing, some minor insurance, CRM. So you could easily be taking home $200,000 as an owner, have a very stress-free business and low capital to start.
Yeah. So my YouTube producer just turned around and looked at me and said he's quitting. And he's about to go open up his own outdoor lighting company.
I can see the computer. He's on your page booking a class.
Net.
Seriously, 30%?
I think you can have a 30% net. Once you're established and you raise your prices and your material cost is more in the 35-40% range, I mean, that adds another 100 grand, 10+% to your bottom line.
Can you imagine one crew?
It sounds like a breeze, right? No stained doors, no killed plants, no training and hiring and the hustle and bustle.
Killed, discolored.
You hear that, Shane?
What was that?
Discolored plants, not killed. We don't kill anything, just discolored.
You killed my plants. No, ma'am. They're just discolored at this moment. Cut them at the root and they'll grow back.
Discolored at this moment.
Maybe. Hey,
now you throw some seasonal Christmas lights on top of that. I mean, that's just kind of gas on the fire.
Back to life.
No, that's good, Shane. And so for me, I love what you're talking about, and it makes a lot of sense why somebody might be interested in investing a little bit of capital in at least checking it out for 6 weeks. And so as we're trying to wrap up the show about Christmas lights, if someone was interested in finding out more information or joining your group, where can they go?
So, I mean, easiest, I suppose, is just reach out to me directly, Shane at glogeeks.com, no W, GLO, geeks.com, Shane at glogeeks.com. Check out the lightingtradeschool.com with the challenge that we're starting here. And April 15th is not that long. It's a 45-day challenge. You will learn so much. It would be ridiculous if you didn't get a $250 value out of that. So if you even have an inkling of wanting to learn design, you can just be a fly on the wall and do nothing and get a couple $100 of value, out of that. That would be a no-brainer. And then if you want to take it a step further, June 10th in San Diego, we're having a live training, where we're actually going to go to an install. We're going to have 100+ lights, and we're going to do the install and show you exactly how to install on site, hands-on.
Man, that is incredible. And so if you're thinking about starting or adding on a service to your already home service business, I'd invite you to go ahead and check out that training, consider signing up. It almost seems like a low risk option because
it's like a no risk option.
Well, it's $1,500 and you get to at least learn, leadership, marketing, sales, where to buy things from, how to install. Like there's a lot of wins.
But you said 1,500. Two $250. Just correction, not $1,500.
Not $1,500. It's
It's
$250.
$250.
Oh, it's not per week?
No, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like,
No.
you're almost robbing Shane. Shane, I'm almost a little bit mad that you are doing this. I understand also why you're trying to capture some value. You know, I get it. But
It's actually
if you
$500. There's a link in our show notes. It's
mention
$500.
code Browns, get a $250 increase. No, just kidding. But seriously, even if you go to this thing, you could save yourself a lot more money by going there and learning, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on our show, sharing a little bit about what you're doing with landscape lights, Christmas lights. Now, let's get back to the Uzi story. So help me understand how you got inside of a situation where you don't have to drop any names or share any details.
You can if you want to.
But how do you get? Yeah.
So I mean, this wasn't just one time. It was at least 3 times in my memory that I got held at gunpoint. And a lot of it goes back to stemming from when I was a teenager. Ever since I can remember, I was an entrepreneur. And I started my first paycheck type job at 14 years old. I was in an arcade. I took my very first paycheck and I went and I bought a bunch of weed with it. And then I started selling it. So at 14 years old, I became a street pharmacist. And then that escalated very, very fast. And by the time I was 16.
Hold on. Where were you at this moment, Shane? I'm sorry. Where in the country were you at this moment?
Mexico.
San Antonio. Close to Mexico. Just a few hours. So when I was 16, we were considered moving quite a bit of weight at that time. You know, we were buying 10, 20 pounds at a time or something. It was a considerable amount for a 16-year-old skinny white kid. And at that point, I was selling to some people that I probably shouldn't have been. They were over my head on the gangster chart. And I got robbed, at point during a transaction a couple of times. A good handful of times.
Dude, I just work at the arcade down the street, man. I'm so sorry. I don't even really know how I got here.
There were other times where we retaliated. That was, a whole nother story. But it was a really weird story. It's hard saying it now because you would never guess. I mean, this was 20 plus years ago. We ended up getting in a lot of trouble at 17 years old, and I went to big boy jail and went there a couple of times. But I went through so much in my teenage years that I immediately did a full 180 and just said, hey, why don't I just do this in business instead of illegal business? So by 19, I kind of left all those friends and made a about face.
So, Shane, to be honest with you, the first time we ever met at one of those ISI functions, I knew you were a gangster. It was because you had khakis on that sagged and you had boxers, wearing boxers.
And then the handkerchief in the back pocket. Dead giveaway.
Dead giveaway.
And you ended up talking about regulators roll out. And then you started rolling from there. And I was like, this is my dude right here.
This is him. 90s hip hop. I'm in.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point, it's probably not for this show. It's like a separate channel, but it's like, I want to hear more about the story of I would love to hear it.
If you only knew.
It's all about connections. And early on, I met a guy who was very connected and was technically low-level Mexican mafia. That kind of propelled me in my career at 15, 16 years old.
Man,
dude, you got interactive relationships with the currency of life. You know what I mean?
Hey, we're thankful that you're no longer, rolling with the pharmaceutical doctor, the street doctor. And now you're helping people have legitimate jobs. And so thank you so much for that. Shane, it's been a pleasure to have you here as a guest. I'm going to ask if you'd be interested in a future show. and maybe even chat with your wife about it. I feel like we miss the other half in a lot of our conversations, and we never get to hear the story from the other side. And so I plan on doing maybe a 2-month, 8 different guests with their spouses. And we talk about the sacrifices that were made, the stories that aren't ever shared, where people who want to start a business need to be aware. They need to have alignment and maybe not go through some of the same problems that we've gone through as we've grown our businesses. Would you be open to something like that?
Absolutely. So many struggles to talk about there. Just raising kids in early 20s, late teen years in business. There's a lot of struggles. That'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah, because a lot of times on the podcast, we're only talking about the $1 million wins, and we're not talking about the Music City roofers calling your cell phone during a podcast because we done some damages on a roof. You know, you never talk about that unless you do. And so thank you so much for being here. And until next time, peace.